You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the March 2025 regular council meeting for the Municipal District of St. Stephen. I'm Florence Mitchell. Today's meeting begins with a public presentation of proposed municipal plan bylaw M4. Lydia Stubbert of Lydia's annual community cleanup, taking place Saturday, April 26, will also present to Council. Under new business, Council will move to reappoint 2 members of the St. Croix Public Library Board for a 3-year term. Council will move to authorize the expenditure of $15,750 towards the rebranding project. Council will also move to approve the medical professional recruitment policy and non-union full-time employee vacation policy. Additionally, Council will move to change the date of the April regular Council meeting from April 23rd to April 30th. Council will move to order the mitigation of 11 Milltown Boulevard, which has been cited as a structural collapse hazard in engineering reports. The final motion made by Council will be to approve the naming of a private drive located in Hills Point as Seaview Lane. Finally, Mayor McEachern will make a proclamation for Purple Day, promoting epilepsy awareness. Now let's join Council in the Moosehead Room at the Garceland Civic Center in St. Stephen.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Municipal District of St. Stephen Council meeting for Wednesday, March 26. I would like to welcome the people that are in the audience and also people that are watching elsewhere. And so I'd like to call it to order at 6 o'clock.
There are huge revelations in this.
Okay.
Okay. Before we begin, I would like...
Not surprising that once politics enters the fray and you're not simply a businessman.
I have competition.
You hold on a minute. I thought I'd have it turned off, but I guess everybody wants to hear about Donald Trump.
Before we begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are all gathered today on the ancestral, unceded territory of the Pescomacati people. First of all, I would like to I need a mover and a seconder to approve the addition, and I also have a deletion to the agenda. The addition would be the one on, according to 18 Mark Street, and we'd also like to remove the closed session since there's an issue that we are dealing with, but we also have 3 members missing, so we'd like to postpone it for a later time. So could I have a mover and a seconder?
I second.
Okay, Councillor Eastman and Councillor Cornish. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Are there any disclosure of conflict of interest tonight? Okay, so right now we're going to start with a public presentation on the proposed new municipal plan bylaw number M-4, and that's with Alex Henderson. You have the floor.
Thank you, Council. Tonight I'm just going to do hopefully just a quick municipal plan presentation, and I think there'll be time for some comments afterward. So I guess we'll begin here. My name is Alex Henderson. I'm a registered professional planner in the province of New Brunswick, and I am the planning director with the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission. Next slide, please. So what is a municipal plan? These are important documents. They're foundational documents to communities. They relate to the municipality's 10-year development horizon. So when you look at land development, all kinds of things are related to it. Your municipal bylaws, your capital budgets, programs, your grants. A lot of stuff gets tied into development of community or a community not developing. So when we look at a municipal plan, it's a high-level document. It touches on a lot of different departments. And the role I play day to day is only a small part of it. A municipal plan has to cover the whole municipal district. So we have a municipal plan for the town of St. Stephen. This is the one that would be repealed by this document. We have rural plans in the rural areas that got amalgamated with the community, and those would also be repealed. We have to do this because the province is requiring it. Municipal plan has to meet the legislation. It also has to be based on a study. So last year we did a study of the geography of the community, the finances, economy of the community, and we're required to do this by the Community Planning Act. We also have to respond to where council's going. Like we're looking at what you as a council are taking as directions, and we're trying to build a plan based off of that. Now this is going to be this is a draft, and it's still subject to your amendments, so keep that in mind. We're also trying to achieve what the public are saying back to us. So when we did this work, we did some preliminary the background research, but we also did public consultations. So we did the survey, we did the open houses, and we met with different stakeholder groups to look at different aspects of the municipal plan as it touches the public. And so what we wanted to do is draft a document that brought together all these pieces. So the next slide, please. The 10 things that when we generally summarize what the public were saying back to us were these. 1, facilitate the development of affordable apartments and houses. 2, support industrial employers and small businesses to expand. 3, reduce costs, lower municipal fees and taxes that impede development. 4, protect water quality, natural water courses, and drinking water supplies. 5, revitalize downtown and improve its image for visitors and hotel development. 6, make parks more fun. Increase year-round recreation events for all ages. 8, improve local streets and the overall quality of municipal infrastructure. 9, direct focus to crime prevention and unsightly dangerous premises. 10, protect rural freedom, promote agricultural development, support local farms. So you see the different sections here. Next slide, please. Respond to the various components. When we talk about affordable housing, the way the municipal plan addresses this is through a zoning scale system. So we start with our conservation zones, which is the most minimal development, going into some rural type zones, ones with low population density, which are mostly for farming. We go up the scale into some of the urban zones, urban 1, urban 2, urban 3, and those are increasing in intensity. So intensity meaning the overall footprint of the development, the amount of land being covered, the height of the buildings. And then we get into things like industrial development. These are developments that really need to have their own set-aside zone because they really don't mix with a lot of other types of development. And now, when it comes to development in St. Stephen, it's not just about the regulation, it's also about the cost structure. So there are changes that could be made to the water and garbage collection bylaws to help make apartment development more competitive. The municipality could leverage some of its surplus properties to attract development and also use its development incentives bylaw. There could also be development incentives for small, basically just average families who are looking to do like tiny buildings in their backyard to house a family member or have a renter. That allows for multi-generational properties, so if there's a way to incentivize those, it's an easy win that helps a lot of people. When it comes to industry and small business, there's a role for Future St. Stephen to play with this. So leading the industrial park development, working to promote small business inside, outside of downtown, working with the RSC on the research, the business gap analysis, shopping surveys, etc. And with the municipality making available the surplus properties and applying that development incentives bylaw. There's lots that can be done on this point. This public priority of reducing costs, lowering municipal fees and taxes, and impede development. Well, there's only so many things municipal plan is going to cover with this, but there's a couple. There's looking at a number of capital liabilities the municipality has. If they're not essential, they could be looked at. So the airport was one example. airport has a lot of community benefits, and you don't want to lose those, but there may be another operator that could essentially take that off your hands so you're not forced to spread yourself too thin. There's a lot of parklands that are underutilized right now, and there's parks that need to be improved. So looking at the parcels you don't need for certain parks, things like tot lots that may be over an acre in size that could be rationalized, that's a way to reduce costs. Looking at the BIA levy, so right now it's at its maximum of 20 cents per hundred, and it just applies to downtown businesses. So the downtown businesses are essentially forced to pay for their own promotion, which is a significant burden when it's shared just among a few properties. So the idea is spread out that burden over the whole municipal district because downtown's important for everybody. When it comes to protecting water, an asset management plan that's supplied and repairs are done on a sort of fixed schedule, so replacements of infrastructure, spreading out the costs for that work amongst vacant or abandoned properties that have services but are no longer a ratepayer due to not consuming services, but have the benefits of services at the lot line. Establishing zones for conservation, Conservation 1 being a higher priority, Conservation 2 being lower. And these would reflect the different development potentials that don't impact the environment or the drinking watershed around Moores Mills. Grandfathering out septic systems that are too close to the St. Croix River or Oak Bay Causeway, which affects swimming, and also the services in the former town of St. Stephen where their property is not connected to sanitary sewer. Revitalizing downtown is a big focus in the municipal plan. So much can be done with the zoning bylaw to make sure that good quality urban design, tight urban infill development is permitted. Making sure the municipality can leverage its downtown properties to attract development, provide incentive packages, providing some reduced rates on certain costs, and then making contractual deadlines for the developers and get some high quality, good development that will help make downtown more vibrant. There's much to be done on marketing to hotel developers based on the work Future St. Stephen's already done, but also the development incentives bylaw. But also introducing a facade improvement program. This has been discussed for many years. It hasn't been done or may have been done and has stopped, something that we need to look at again. Park improvements. Again, making parks more fun, increasing year-round events for all ages is a priority the public has identified. So using some of that surplus underutilized parkland and turning that into a fund to invest in parks is one idea. So improving play equipment, adding a pickleball court, improving boating facilities in St. Croix River, having food trucks at town squares, frisbee golf. There's a bunch of different ideas that are identified here. But another one is making sure parks and trails are open year-round, that there's waste receptacles that people can use during the wintertime, as recreation in winter months is very important. One thing which was a kind of a resounding bit of feedback was issues around homelessness. So making sure that the municipality is advocating to government and non-government partners to provide safe, dignified, transitional, supportive, or complex care housing for people experiencing homelessness. There's also health services that need to be met as well, needs that need to be met. And when it comes to shelters, we need to look at pre-planning accessible locations that the local government or the provincial government can provide some assurance to nearby residents that there will be site supervision in place. So if there's a location for a shelter proposed that's outside of some of these pre-zoned sites that would be identified in the zoning bylaw, then those would require a public hearing consultation with neighbors or businesses. And as it is proposed to be a temporary solution, working with a nonprofit to phase out the current shelter location when the time comes. A big thing is improving the quality of local streets. This has been raised quite frequently. But again, it ties to the asset management plan, making sure that street renewal is on a fixed schedule. So every capital budget, it's there for each street at the time it's supposed to be. And Dylan did some great work in the report to council, and that's a great place to start. While you're doing that, you could also look at reducing repaving costs, reducing vehicle speed, improving safety for children or cyclists by adopting narrower street standard. So it's identified here, shown in the picture. Next slide, please. Another one is crime prevention and addressing derelict or unsightly buildings. So there's one property in particular which was raised quite frequently. It's near the interchange of Route 1, Route 3. It's a salvage yard, very prominent, very close to the street. So there's a couple options. Municipality could actually make a proposal to acquire it, to clean it up and use it for municipal purposes, or municipality could impose conditions on it that they have to clean it up, bring it up to a standard that would be beneficial to the properties around there. But in general, dangerous and unsightly enforcement is a very important service and could be done with the goal of improving community safety, deterring property crime, and improving the overall investment in St. Stephen for new development. So one idea also is with some of the surplus property sales, one being the RCMP station, if that was sold to the RCMP or to another property manager to keep the RCMP station in place, the funds of that could potentially be used to create a revolving fund for dangerous and unsightly enforcement. There's a lot of upfront costs that council has to pay when it comes to tearing down one of these buildings or repairing it. And there's a functional limit to how many you can do in a year, so it's good to have some of those funds in reserve to do that work, as well as nighttime lighting is another idea for that. Lastly, with the protecting of rural freedom, promoting agriculture development, supporting local farms, the main thing is identifying where these potential lands are. And so we did that work. We've identified lands that's prime, so that's with the category. There's different ranks of what's prime agriculture. But this could be potential farmlands, lands that could be potentially cultivated at the higher scale, or lands that are good for pasture at the lower end of the scale. And so we also need to consider that we need zoning to protect these areas because we could have encroachments from sort of suburban style residential development, which could lead to noise and odor complaints if someone's running a sawmill 24/7 or has a barn that has, average farm smells. We want to make sure we have some consideration for where the farmers are and we're not impacting them in any way. We also had quite a lot of folks in rural areas that don't want to have town-style bylaws applied to them, so we have to make sure the zoning is reflective of what rural residents have asked for. And just lastly, this idea of promoting the peddler bylaw exemption for farmers to be able to sell at town squares without fees or permits, so something that could be raised to public's attention. So that's a quick overview. The municipal plan is a bylaw, so it has a formal adoption process of council. This public presentation, again, short. It's about a 60-page document. I had to just touch on the high points there. We're just covering some of the basics, but tonight is the sort of intro. There'll be a 30-day sort of cool down period after this when folks can read the document. They can provide their letter to council, say, here's what I agree with, here's what I disagree with, maybe change this. That's what this next 30 days is for. And when council meets again, if they're meeting on April 30th, then council could go to the stage of actually potentially doing a first reading, potentially setting a date for a public hearing of objections, and potentially sending it to the PRAC for a view, a technical view. And then the following council meeting, so this would be into May, potentially, council could even go to second and third reading if it wanted to. Now, it's up to council how this goes, so you can stretch it out or as you see fit, but if you're prepared to make those steps, that would be the schedule for an adoption. In addition, we're going to be sending this out to provincial agencies for comment, so we make sure that we're in line with all the provincial laws and other agencies that are out there that are regulating different aspects that would touch on some of these pieces. So we need to make sure we're complementing and not stepping on toes here. So with that, I will turn it to you, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and I've read the report more than once, but there's a lot of information. And you just, right now, you explained the process. Maybe, Jeff, you could elaborate on that? Like, is there time for more, like you mentioned, public, are there any meetings set up with the public, or is that?
So this is actually so we're in the formal process here, and the legislation requires 2 public meetings apart from your bylaw readings. So the public presentation's what's happened right now, and the next would be the public hearing of objections. And those are 2 ways that the public have opportunities to look at the document, provide their feedback, and so council has that when it makes a decision. There basically from today for the next 30 days, there's an open period for these comments, written comments to be received. And at the time the public hearing of objections is called, there'll be a 21-day period. That's just the way it works. So both are publicly advertised. So tonight's meeting was advertised publicly, and the public hearing of objections will also be advertised publicly. So those are the 2 ways people could be informed and be able to participate.
So basically, tonight would just be an information night. Am I correct in assuming that? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, does council have any comments?
Yeah, I got a comment on
Okay. Councilor Cornish?
Mr. Henderson, I'm very impressed. I've been dealing with you for better part of 15 years and other planning committee, and I know Payne made a note here that I think you hit everything that you and I have discussed over the last 10 or 12 years. And I spent an evening with you and Ward 1 representatives a while back making an open display, and I think if you do that again, I think it'll be greatly appreciated. And I'm really impressed that the soil pollution thing come up again, because we've been looking at that now for council and that for the last been there 3.5 years. And I like the part of the recreation also, because I've been pushing the St. Croix River for a long time, and I think it all will melt together very good. I thank you for your report. I know it's an executive overview, and I'm sure we're going to hear more. Thanks again, Al.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, Councilor Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to encourage residents. It's a long read and it can be a bit boring if you're not into that kind of thing, but take a look at it. I really, really like the facade improvement, suggestion for a facade improvement program. I like the narrower street standard idea. That concept is pretty interesting if people want to dig into that a little bit. And most of all, because I'm a rural dweller, I really like the emphasis on protecting the rural lifestyle. So I think that's important for everybody to understand. That is a goal of this plan. And so really dig into that if that was one of your concerns about what council is doing with this plan. It is about protecting that lifestyle. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'd like to say the same thing as Councilor Wright, but I also, when we attended the meetings, when they had the public meeting, I was a little disappointed that we had low numbers. I mean, we did have the weather situation, but I'd really like to encourage people to come out. There's many good ideas, and I know we don't all agree on everything, but it would be wonderful if we could get everybody's opinion, and I think there's potential for a very good plan for our community. Okay, thank you. Did I need a mover and seconder to accept?
No, you're good there.
Okay. Next, I'd like to have a mover and seconder for the adoption of the regular meeting held on February 26, 2025. Mover? So moved. Councillor, okay, Councillor Harding. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, motion carried. Next, we have a public delegation, so that's by Lydia. I hope she's ready.
Hello everyone, and if you don't know me, my name is Lydia Stubbert and I am 10 years old. I'm happy to be here today to talk about my annual spring cleanup. This is my third year organizing this cleanup. The first year we had a good group of people come to help. The second year it grew with more people helping, and it also grew to include other areas around Charlotte County. There was St. Stephen, Campobello, Blacks Harbor, St. Andrews. There was over 150 bags of garbage collected last year. This cleanup is important to me because you won't have to worry about people or animals getting into something that can hurt them. It will look better and be better for everyone. Also, it is better for the environment. We all live here and me and my friends play here. I want it to be clean and safe. There are lots of places around town that need garbage cleaned up. The more people that help, the more that we can do. The cleanup is planned for April 26th, meeting at the Border Arena at 12:30. We will have garbage bags and gloves for everyone. I suggest maybe bringing a grabber. Sometimes the dollar store has them. We will also have sharp containers too. If you have an empty laundry detergent bottle, you can bring that as well for any sharp items you might find. Thank you for listening, and I hope lots of people show up to help. That's it.
Thank you very much. And Lydia, I want you to know that I'm very proud of you. And I really think in today's society, we really have to educate our young people, you know, to show them how important. I was a school teacher for many years, and we tried to impress that on children. So I think it's a wonderful project, and I hope we'll see a lot of people there. Thank you very much again for coming. Are there any more presentation, public?
We're not there yet, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry.
That's just your delegation.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I guess next we're on with the CAO's report, and I'd like to have a mover and seconder to acknowledge the report. Councillor Wright, Councillor Eastman. Okay, Jeff, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. CAO's office has been, we've been busy working on a number of things. We continue our legal negotiations with Canada First Basketball to get that restrictive covenant wording sorted out and get that, hopefully get that property transferred to them, get them off and running on their own 2 feet. We were happily blessed with multiple submissions to our RFP, our request for proposals for our human resources information system and payroll. We're currently doing the evaluation on those right now. They're very lengthy documents, but we did ask for a lot of detailed information from the vendors. We'll be moving into a live demo phase of evaluation in the near future with either 2 or 3. We're still depending on how many we're gonna go to live demo with, but that's process is moving along well. We did post the Realtor Services RFP per direction previously received. Mayor McEachran and I had the opportunity to sit with Minister Kennedy from the Department of Local Government and members of his team. Unfortunately, Madam Deputy Mayor was not able to join us that day. We had a really positive conversation, and I'll say quite a frank conversation with Minister Kennedy. It was a refreshing dialogue to be able to be that frank with him and his members of his senior team. We covered a lot of ground regarding the post municipal reform life, our desire to see fiscal reform implemented. I was also fortunate Minister Kennedy gave me an opportunity to speak about some very bureaucratic things, concerns I have about some of the language that exists within the Local Governance Act that his team was took notes on as they're preparing their own review of that document right now, and they'll be apparently they're going to be having some working groups coming forward potentially that I may put my name forward to hopefully sit on and assist with that work. Our community safety survey is just about ready to go live. We were just finishing up the final edits on the draft survey. We did share that with Councillor Greenlaw. He was a councillor champion on that particular project. So he was good enough to do a review of the questions, provide some feedback before we go live. We expect to go live for pretty much the entire month of April, which fits the timeline of the experts that we brought in to run this thing. So you'll see some promotional material going out in water bills and on the digital board and through social media and all those ways to make sure we get a really good cross-section, we're hoping, of the community. There's going to be outreach to the school. We're going to try and hit everything we can think of. So if you guys have, if you folks have ideas of contacts that we should reach out to, please let myself or Celeste know. We'll happily include them in our program. Councillor Eastman and I began conversations around a new councillor orientation program, which was one of the SMART goals that we came up with when we did some strategic planning. We had just initial chat to make sure we were starting from a similar view of the project, and happy to say we were very close, I think, on a lot of the goals we have. So we're going to do some preliminary work together and bring that to committee of the whole for comment from the committee before we start looking at building out the full program. The rebranding strategy, committee of the whole did look at that and send it to council for consideration on this agenda. Have had some preliminary calls with the proposed contractor. We're ready to get that going. And I will say that one of the outcomes of the really good meeting we had with Minister Kennedy is Minister Kennedy is funding the great majority of that project through a grant that we're actually hitting, which we expect to hit our bank account tomorrow. They've graciously provided $15,000 in funding on a project that is expected to be just shy of $16,000 in total. So as that was fully budgeted within our municipal budget, we can look at doing some other good things as we move money around with this new funding. Policy development during this reporting period. It's been widely reported on the draft medical professionals policy. So that, per committee's request, has been put on this agenda. Another big one that I've been tackling is the municipal reserves policy. Mr. Godso and I have been working on getting a better grasp of how we're going to manage the reserves going forward, how those are identified for you in budget, and can be better managed on the day-to-day. That will be coming to committee of the whole in April. It's I'd say 95% drafted now, just a few tweaks to go. And in this report, we provided some of the SMART goal sheets that we've been working from, updated, just showing you a lot of things are getting done or are in progress right now. We've hit it's a long trudge coming to the top of the hill, and it seems slow, and it seems slow, and it seems slow, and now we're getting to the top of the hill, and we're starting to go. A lot of these things are rolling quite quickly. So we're going to try and keep you up to date on that. There's a few sheets that are not included here. They need to be, as we went to update them, they need to be reworked based on the changing situations that we have. We've still identified your goal, but we want to look at the tactics a little bit differently. Those will come to the next committee of the whole as part of a report to show you how we're proposing to adjust our philosophy towards those specific items. But yeah, with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions, comments? Councillor Wright?
Thank you. My button's not coming on. Thank you. I just, this council started right after amalgamation, and so there was a huge learning curve and a huge task before us that might not have been part of another council that wasn't dealing with amalgamation as well. So like you said, Jeff, it was a slow start trying to slug uphill for a lot of things, but I'm glad to see a lot of this coming, and I know that a lot of what this council has directed as far as the foundational work that we've been doing and a lot of the amalgamation hiccups, that fell on staff, and the staff has had a huge workload. And I just want to say thank you to all of you and congrats for slugging through and getting us to this point where we're starting to see the results of the past just over 2 years of hard work that's gone into this. So thank you to all you and all the staff. It's just, I love to see some of this stuff coming to fruition. It's great.
Anybody?
Ask a question.
Yeah.
We're having a technical issue.
Are we? Okay, I'll try to talk loud then. Just a couple of questions. We have at least 2 or maybe 3 things out there that we have not heard back from. One is the access to Hansels Cove due to fire safety, recreation, rescue, and possibly now RCMP with border security, etc. Anything back on that one at all, Jeff?
I have to check with Mayor McEachran on that one. That's one of those lovely political things that between him and the minister. So with the election and all the change, I'm not sure where they're at, but either I can either ask Mayor McEachran to get in touch with you, or you can reach out to him. But that's wouldn't come through my office at this point.
Sent out a few weeks ago on the pollution of the air and water in the St. Croix water system. Have we heard anything back from Environment New Brunswick, Canada, or any of those associations?
Yeah, Mayor McEachran sent a letter to the Minister of Environment. We did get a response. There was some confusion on the minister's end, I believe, on what Mayor McEachran was trying to articulate as far as anecdotal evidence versus detailed scientific reports. They thought we had some kind of reports that we could share. We have since, I assisted the mayor in drafting a response to the minister, offering to host the minister and his team here and set up a sampling of citizens to share their experiences with him and his team. Or alternatively, we had suggested that the minister could provide us the contact information for the right member of his team, and we could promote that publicly for people to share their experiences, so they can get an understanding of what we're dealing with here. That letter just recently went out, and so we haven't had a response to that yet. But there is an ongoing letter writing dialogue between Mayor McEachran and the minister.
Thank you. Anybody else? Again, thank you, Jeff, and your staff for all the work that's been done. Yes.
The tech folks are asking if we can have a quick recess while they see if they can fix the technology, if that's okay with council.
Okay with that, yes. We're back. Were there any more questions or comment for Jeff? Okay, and I believe we had a mover and seconder. So all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Okay, report accepted, acknowledged and received. Now I guess we have the public comment period. Do we have any speakers?
A couple of things. I wanted to update you about the proposed accommodation tax.
Could you identify?
I'm sorry. I'm Susan Thomas, and we own Casa Breeze Bed and Breakfast. And I just wanted to update you that we are filling up rapidly for June, July, August, and September. And I would say 80% of our guests are Canadian. So Again, considering when I left home, we were just waiting for an announcement on the auto tariff, and that will have a big impact. I haven't heard it yet, but apparently it's coming tonight. I don't think this is the right time for a combination levy, because if we have all these Canadians doing as we've asked, traveling in Canada, why make it more expensive for them? They're already going to be facing issues with groceries and life. My second question or concern is, why are we still flying the American flag? They don't fly it when we enter their country, or they don't fly our flag when they enter their country. So why are we still flying it? I just have a concern about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more speakers?
Hi, Chandra Best from Ward 3. I'm just going to move this up a little bit. I'm going to start with the positive. I was wondering about which order I should go in, and I'm feeling a little bit nervous tonight, so I think I'll start with something positive. I first of all wanted to say that in looking over the agenda package for tonight, I was really happy to see all of the reports by the councillors and the mayor and the deputy mayor. I really get a lot of information from those reports, and I really like it. I like to know what you guys are up to, kind of thing, and how I can learn more about the community. So I want to say also, just for anyone who's listening or watching, to read the reports. Go ahead, and even if you just skip the whole package, just flip to the back and go ahead and read them, because there's a lot of good information. You know, Councillor Greenlaw, he mentioned about go ahead and he encouraged people to watch the Regional Service Commission meetings, which are usually once a month. Those are really informative. So I really think that that's a great idea too. So I learned a lot, and I've been in correspondence with a lot of people just over the past couple of days, and that's the next thing I wanted to get to, is that I wanted to thank the people that I did talk to and correspond with this week. Councillor Deputy Mayor Wheaton was one of them. I know I've been back and forth with Alex. I know he's not a councillor, but anyways, very helpful on the municipal plan. I've already been emailing with our new future St. Stephen chairperson, Rivers Corbett. And even Kev Sumner, I've emailed him and talked back and forth with him by email. So I really appreciate it. And I want to, number one, say that I appreciate it, but also to let people know that the opportunity to correspond and to find out more information is there. We just have to tap into it and take the time. And I feel much more better and informed about everything the more that I do that. So I appreciate it. Oh, and my goodness, I couldn't possibly forget Celeste, because she's just been like so helpful in all the things that she gets for me, or all the questions I ask about documents, budgets, all of that stuff. So really, really helpful. So I just wanted to make sure I talked about that. And so then the only other thing I wanted to talk about, and which I emailed council about earlier this week, is on the medical professional recruitment policy. So I didn't have a chance to look at the document tonight, so I can only assume that it's still in its original form, and none of my suggestions were adopted, so okay. But I do want to say, first of all, that I do hope that something like this works, and that we do attract medical professionals here, because I know that we need them, and I know that people really are concerned about not having a doctor or not having other types of medical professionals here. So if it works, great. What I am concerned about is the cost, and you probably know that's what I'm always concerned about when I come here, is the cost. Not just for me, but for all the people in our area that can't afford it, and even if we can't afford it, if we just don't want to pay for that. To be quite honest, I already pay for my health care to the province. So, you know, the CAO has articulated that very clearly in the preamble to the policy, that this isn't within our purview, and I agree, it isn't within our purview. So what I'm hoping for is that council will somehow find an offset for the cost. If it's $100,000 or $125,000, to somehow decrease an expense somewhere else, because we can't pay for everything. So that's probably one of my concerns. And the other concern is just around the actual policy. And I've read a lot of the policies that we have here, and I found that some are better written than others, you know, more prescriptive and, you know, detailed in what is required. And I find that this one is not as prescriptive as what I've read in other ones, like the incentive development bylaw. That one is much more detailed than this one. So I find that one, you know, covers our butt better, if that's not the right way to put it, but if you know what I mean. So I feel like those things need to be in here, you know, like when a professional is coming here, are we only paying them at the end of every year to make sure that they actually serve a year? What happens if they break their contract and then, you know, I guess we just stop paying them, but are there any other penalties or anything like that? What happens with the headhunter? If we pay the headhunter, sorry, that's not the right term, but, you know, loosely, if we pay them $25,000 to bring a medical professional here, the doctor, and then if we pay them in the first year and the doctor leaves, does that mean to say that $25,000 we've just lost money? And that's not articulated at all in here, anything about that, those types of details around how this is going to be administered. And after all, that is what a policy is for, is to describe exactly how a program or a legislation, regulation is going to be delivered. And so that's what I would like to see here. I think also the other thing is that around just definitions, and so the document is geared towards people who probably are already, because it's going to medical professionals, and that's one of my questions too, is how do we let people know that the policy is out here? How do we let headhunters know that the policy exists? Or how do medical professionals or residents or students coming out know that, oh, St. Stephen has a policy? Is that future St. Stephen? You know, how is that even going to happen? Or do we just post it like very quietly on our website and hope that someone looks or does a chat GPT to find out which towns in New Brunswick has a recruitment policy? So to me, that's a question also. But in terms of the actual audience, it's not just the medical professionals who are the audience for the policy. It's not just council, it's not just future St. Stephen, it's not just the province, it's the taxpayers. So I feel that definitions should be there, and articulating the process and the protection mechanisms that are in there about how things work should be in the policy, so that when I'm curious about it, I can look it up and say, here's how it's gonna work. And it should be clear, and I should understand what is all meant in the policy. And I think the other thing about making sure it's really clear is that when you do start to go through the process of actually, you know, recruiting somebody, that there's no questions around, oh, how does this work exactly? Oh, here's a different nuance that we didn't think about, or, you know, the circumstances could be quite varied. So how do you account for those things without having a delay, and suddenly you lose a medical professional because they've gone somewhere else because we couldn't act quickly enough because the policy wasn't clear enough? So those are my concerns, and it's for those reasons that, in my view, this policy we should slow down on it, cool down on it, take the cooling off period, and go back and thoroughly suss it out, and then bring it back and let everybody have a look at it and place the vote then. So thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess I won't touch the button. Well, thank you very much for Chandra, and you've given us a lot to think about. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor. My name is David Whittingham. I live in town in Ward 2. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One is to commend the Deputy CEO, Fire Chief, and his staff on looking through the agenda here, that finally he's being able to bring towards council for a decision on some of the properties in town to deal with the bylaw under the dangerous and unsightly premises bylaw. That's great to see. I know that myself and other residents are pretty frustrated when it doesn't seem that anything is happening for months and months, but I know behind the scenes that there's a lot of things that can't be said in public and don't appear to be happening, but are. So I appreciate that. I'm not going to take any thunder, but it's really good to see that with some of the positive things that are happening with Future St. Stephen and the hiring of a new president. But I didn't want to take Genevieve's thunder from that. I did have one comment, and it's regarding the Fire Chief's monthly report for February, and on item 9, repurposing of Unit 834, which is a 3/4 ton service vehicle from the Oak Bay Fire Hall, and for use as a multi-purpose protective services vehicle for fire, bylaw, building inspection. And I'm just wondering, in the 2025 budget, I think there was budgeted for 3 new vehicles, pickup trucks, and I'm just wondering if this repurposing means that the 3rd vehicle that was being considered for the bylaw officer is going to be put on hold, or is this a different repurposing that's going on? Maybe I can find that out in the Chief's report.
I'm happy to answer that. In reviewing it, we decided that we could repurpose this vehicle, which is not something that we considered at the original capital plan. So this will be the opportunity to repurpose those funds to something else. We're currently drafting a report for council for next month on that and other potential budget amendments. But that was a cost savings that Chief Morton and his team identified, and we decided to go down that road rather than trying to find a new vehicle that we didn't really need at this point in time.
Thanks very much.
So my name is Bernadette Cunningham. I'm Ward 2. I just wanted to address the BIA levy. So I pay, as a business owner, I'm downtown St. Stephen, I pay a few $100s to be part of the BIA. Their annual budget's around $26,000, and that enables them to be able to hire one person to be able to apply for grants, do a lot of other things, and focus specifically on the downtown core. So with that ability to do that, they keep their financials in order. They were able to access around $250,000. So the electric sign, the murals, the park benches, garbage cans, all of that stuff is coming from the BIA and doing that. If I put an email out, I get an email back right away. Everything's in a timely manner. I feel like I'm heard through the BIA. I go to meetings, I hear all kinds of entrepreneurs put ideas together, have a lot of great ideas. They all need to be approved by the town. I won't comment on where that goes. Going from a 20 cent on the $100 down to a 1 cent would make it down to $5,000, which means there won't be an employee to be able to help me out as a business owner. So what you're doing is squashing that and making it so that they can't do anything. There's no employee left. It's only a $26,000 budget that they have to work with, and you're going to make that down to a 20th of that. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to me as a business owner that happens. You're not helping the downtown core. If you look around at the businesses are struggling. Businesses do not feel supported. Businesses are leaving. The downtown looks not good. We don't have shops. I'm fighting, and I haven't made a lot of friends because I'm fighting to stay and to stay put, and I don't feel supported in general by the town, but I'm going to stay and I'm going to keep doing my thing. I did feel supported by the BIA. So to have the council say, or have the program go, oh, no, businesses don't want that. Businesses there's a lot of creative ideas. I hear all kinds of people going, ooh, I might start this, I might start that. there's so many roadblocks that people hit, and it's not an easy place to do business. And I just personally don't want to see that levy get dropped. I don't feel like things are going to be done in a more efficient or better manner. So that's just my opinion.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Okay, so next we will move to the reports, and I would like to have a mover and seconder to move that the departmental information reports be acknowledged and received. So I guess we'll just get a, okay, Councillor Heislip, Councillor Wright, and we will start with the Deputy CAO report.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll start with Public Works, as they're at the start of, or at the beginning of my report. Maxwell Crossing, last month I reported a lot of issues that we were having out there. Work is ongoing to resolve most of those things. We had some equipment upgrades, software upgrades, a bunch of things like that we're working through. So things are stable out there, but work is ongoing. On top of all of that, it's time for renewals of approval to operate, samplings, plan submissions, all kinds of bureaucratic stuff lumped on top of all the other problems that we've been having. So we've been working through that as well, and that's all going good. So good news on that part, and we also have a new employee coming to work out in that area starting next week. So some good news around the Maxwell Crossing facility. Another highlight of my Director of Infrastructure activities, the asphalt program for 2025 preparations. We were actually out today. David Beach, Rory Picard from Dillon, and I were out on the actual roads that we're considering and trying to work out a program as far as who's going to do what and when. So that is ongoing, and off to a good start, I feel. So we'll be coming back with some suggestions for the CAO as far as how we're going to fund all of these things and who's going to do what in the coming weeks and months. That's the highlights I had as far as infrastructure. If there's any questions on that before I move into protective services, I'd take them.
I got a question.
Sure.
You know, we've been getting an awful lot of feedback from citizens about this boiled water stuff, eh? And really, I feel uncomfortable of really trying to explain everything because I don't understand half of it either. So I was wondering if there's any chance that we can get a tour as a council out to Maxwell Cross and have somebody push us through the loops here, and so we can get a better understanding so it can be projected to the citizens that give us questions.
Sure. It's a good idea.
Yeah, sure.
Councillor Heislip?
Well, I guess there's not working. No buttons. Okay, I was out to the washroom, so. When you mentioned, Sean, about the asphalt program, that was the one that we designated those streets that we were going to do this year. So has anything been out to contract yet or out for RFP or anything? Or?
No, that's what we were preparing for today, to figure out what work we can do in-house and what work would be contracted out. That was the main purpose of today's session.
Is that another one? And the 18 Mark Street cleanup, I just want to commend you on that. That looked a lot better the couple of days after it was closed up there. And I know that, and I appreciate the citizen that that realizes the steps and that we have to go through in order to get to that point, right? And have that on our agenda tonight. And it took that was a long haul. You see the different dates on there when it started and everything else, and it was it's unfortunate, but. We have to protect the taxpayers too, and get that paid for through the province. So, appreciate that.
You're welcome. We'll talk on that later in the meeting.
Anybody else? Councillor Cornish.
I guess just in addition to basically what Earl covered on the water situation, I'm going to stop going to all restaurants and coffee places in town because I'm getting bombarded by the same thing, like what's going to happen next, when is it going to happen? And we can't answer them. We don't know anything about water. So I'm going to just add a little bit more to what Earl said. And basically, if you could, from my background, I would like to be able to talk to the knowledge worker that runs it, supervisor, maybe even the CAO, plus us, so that we're all on the same page and we get to talk with the people that actually pull the bells and whistles and all that. That way we have a total understanding from ground level what's going on and what's going to be on in the future, if that's okay. And last thing I'd like to say, I'd like to see this within 2 weeks. Please.
Not guarantee the timeline, Councillor. We can endeavor to meet that, but that's tight for scheduling. But I do think the whole concept of a council educational tour. I used to do them when I worked in Alberta. We had a much bigger territory than this when I worked there. They are very valuable, and I think it's something that Councillor Eastman and I will be discussing as part of the new councillor orientation program moving forward. But so it'd be a good dry run for our discussions along those lines. So we will endeavor to get it as quickly as possible, but I don't want to commit to 2 weeks at this particular moment.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Wright?
I was just going to remind us all and the citizens again that our infrastructure is aging, and just like when our cars get old, when our homes get old, when our bodies get old, they tend to fail a little more often. It might take a little longer to heal and replace and repair. So that's the situation we're up against, and the only way to replace all that new infrastructure is to raise, in this case it'd be the utility rates, if we wanted to just revamp everything all at once. So there's a balance there, but sometimes these things just happen, and we certainly appreciate the patience that we're extended and the understanding as we fix things, and as we, as a council, are going to get this opportunity to learn more about how it works ourselves.
Thank you. Guess.
I'll carry on the protective services component of my report. Alarms for February 20th through March 18th. I would say the amount of calls was down a little bit from what our average seems to be, not tremendously. There's a little bit of an uptick in structure fires over this period. We had 3 that we assisted Calais with, and then we had 3 here on our side of the border. 2 were, I'll call it minor, and 1 that was a more serious, definitely a serious fire amongst those 3 fires. The rest of the stuff there is just pretty much typical stuff. I was going to touch on the repurposing of Unit 834, and that was brought up for me in advance. I will say that it is out there in the community now. By law enforcement and building inspection have been using it since last week. So that's it's a great addition to the fleet. We also have it in case we need it for fire purposes. So that's a good bonus. I didn't have a whole lot more to add. I would like to say, though, that although the weather yesterday didn't indicate it, we all woke up to a bunch of snow that nobody wanted. We are approaching, and really in some ways we've passed what I would consider the beginning of the early stages of wildfire season. With my other department, I have already been to wildfires this season, minor because of the time of year, but it is that time of year where things can happen. So if you're out and around, it's probably more common than in town in the rural areas to clean up and burn leaves and brush and things like that. Be vigilant, be careful. It's also a time of year where people get out and start ATVing and fishing and things like that. The Stein Lake fire was caused accidentally by an ATV. It's a good idea, if you're going to be out in the backwoods doing those type of things, to take a fire extinguisher with you or something like that. So if I can give any advice, just be careful And if you can afford an extinguisher to take on your bike, I recommend that you do so. That may have prevented, one, the loss of the bike, and two, the very large fire that came as a result of it. So that's all I really had to say about protective services, and I'm open to questions on anything in the report.
Any further question? Councillor Cornish?
Just another follow-up. Been approached again over the last few weeks about the zoning for the insurance for basically Ward 1. As you know, Ward 1 is assessed by the fire station that feeds that area. It comes out of Western Charlotte and not St. Stephen Fire Hall. And according to, I don't know a lot about insurance, but according to these people I've talked to, their insurance rate is higher than the people that's out there and vice versa. So we talked about this before several times. Any indication when we'll be able to, the only word I can use is flop it over, reverse it, or get some, because these people are paying higher insurance than they should be. And with taxes going up and assessments going up, maybe they get a little bit of a break. And this is just Ward 1, because I don't think there's anything like that in the rest of them. That's my only question.
Yes, that work is ongoing, and I have told you that in other meetings. It is getting. It's the next big project, I guess, I have for myself and my assistant to work on. We're in a pretty good position as far as moving this forward from my office. I can't say the same for the numerous other agencies that would be involved in this type of move. I have associates with other departments that are working on similar projects, and we've identified a number of hurdles to making this happen. And there are changes that are ongoing within the NB 911 system that are going to make this a little bit easier, I would say. But there are some hurdles to overcome, and a lot of it's out of our control. So I'm hopeful that within the next few months that we can maybe start to push some of these agencies to get on board and start moving this process forward. Unlike like CAO or no, I can't make any promises on timelines. I had hoped that this year I would see that happen, and I'm still hopeful, but like I say, a lot of it's out of my hands. NB 911 and ELG, there's a lot of provincial departments that have to be brought on board and willing to do this as well. So that process of that part, trying to bring everybody together, should hopefully start in the coming months.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. So now we'll move on to Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission, Municipal District Planning Report from Alex.
Chair. So tonight we had the presentation of the Municipal Plan bylaw. This essentially kicks off the formal public consultation process outlining the Community Planning Act. As I said before, this document is now going to be circulated to various provincial agencies for their comment, and any revisions, required revisions, will be brought forward to Council for your draft whenever you're ready for your first reading. With development, there's been 15 permits approved, building permits that were reviewed by us for zoning and sent to the building inspector to be issued. 9 new in the last month. We've had 4 new development permits in the last month. A couple signed permits or approval exemption documents for the Land Registry Office. A few zoning confirmation letters. 4 building lots added year to date. 8 new homes or apartment units added year to date, and 5 of those homes were in the last month. Your total permitted construction value year to date is just close to $2.3 million. That's my report. Thank you.
Very much. Any question? Councillor Eastman?
Who changed the format?
That would be Celeste.
Celeste, thank you very much.
Some work going on there.
Just a question for Alex. Alex, you got the floor.
Okay, Councillor Cornish.
Compared to last year, what's the, you said 2.3 million. Is it up, down, same?
Bear with me for a moment. But that would be also, that number would be slightly higher due to the lagoon building. I think that was over $1 million there. So what's that?
Sorry, that's probably most of it.
It might be. It might be. So that, yeah, that is a high number for this time of year. So I'm just going to double check here if I can quickly get that for you. All right, just a second here. Okay, so yeah, at the same time last year, it was just over $1 million. So yeah, it is higher, and it is you're probably just on par for the same as last year. Yeah.
Further questions? Okay, we'll move on to community service, and that would be Kev.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to start off just with a number of public service announcements, I suppose. With the GCC being busy towards the end of the hockey season, we just ask any users, any visitors, just to respect some of the policies that we have. There is we are looking at going over those in the next little while, but we've had a couple of safety issues with kids running around and just running into users. We've had them spilling water and people falling over. So we just ask if anybody does see any spills, any hazards. Our guys are working. Sometimes they're on the Zamboni. Sometimes they are in the pool area. If anybody sees anything that's out of the ordinary, just to let our front desk know, we can communicate with within the different departments, and it just helps us keep everybody safe in the GCC and coming back, and just let us know if we can if you see anything, and we'll try and do our best to get to it as quick as we can. So. Yeah, we've had a couple of hockey seasons. We had under 15 provincials here. We've had the Day of Champions, so it's been great to see. It's been hopefully reflected out in the businesses in and around the town. As you'll see in Michelle's report, there's lots of past events reflecting what we've done in March, but also what's coming up. We've got a busy time with circuses coming. We've got the Home and Rec show, which we've had. There's a flea market there. There's a little graphic which we shared on our social media. There is a community sign-up day for any sports that start up in the spring, that if they wanted to come along and use that event as a chance to sign up members, they can do. We have the weekly market, which will be starting up in May as well. So hopefully the weather will oblige, and we're collaborating with the BIA and the Chamber on a couple of events that are coming up. I'm sure we'll see notices coming up. So lots of things to look forward to as winter leaves us, and hopefully the spring does come along. Wanted to say thank you to Lydia and the volunteers that are coming out. We're able to help. We can get grants to help with garbage bags and gloves and things like that, and it does help us. It's not all on town property. It's some other areas as well, so it does all help. I wanted to thank as well Aaron. Hopefully you'll see in the report, St. Stephen beat off a number of centres under 20,000 population, Edmundston, Miramichi, Woodstock. We currently have in 2024 we had the highest number of programs associated with the Life Saving Society. I think this is a great reflection on Aaron and his team. And the work that he's put in over the last 5 years since he's been with us. He's just had his anniversary with us. He has seen us through COVID when we had, I think, as low as 9 lifeguards, and I think for a while, quite a while there, we were asking for lifeguards just to come out, and we're up almost to 30 now. Aaron does all the training himself. He's actually trained some of his lifeguards, his more experienced ones, to be trainers as well, and they've gone on and they're university now. So there is a career there if anybody's interested, and there's always more potential. We're always looking for new lifeguards out there. So if you know of anyone, it's another public service announcement. Please get in touch with us, and we've got different things going on. We had one in March break, as you'll see in the report. One item from Jeremy's report, I put in there. It's his report. I thought it was a shingle roof. It's actually a metal roof that we are putting on there. So these little details, but it'll help the long-term preventative maintenance of that building, and we're trying to always, look after our buildings and the assets we have. And if there are any questions, please let me know, and I'll try and answer them.
Councillor Wright?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I saw a nice little tidbit in there. I think I read it right. That sign downtown, the much maligned sign that was not working is now working correctly?
That is correct. Touch wood. Nobody say anything. Nobody do anything. Nobody touch anything.
That's awesome. I think that's a little bit of good news that everybody needed to be made well aware of, because that's where you're going to find lots of information about the boil water order. That hopefully we won't have to see that one, but all of the other good stuff that's coming up. So that's awesome. I was glad to see that. Thank you.
Anybody? Councillor Heisler?
I think you should congratulate Aaron on behalf of council and make sure that he knows that. And there seems to be a lot of good news stories coming out of those programs. So just let him know that we appreciate it.
Yeah. Councillor Eastman?
I understand that Jeremy jumped at the metal roof before the tariffs went up, which is very great, good thinking of his part.
Correct. Yeah, it's good value for money. We're working with the volunteers, like I put in my last few reports, and they have been very gracious in their information, and we're looking to carry on from where they left off. And just another plug is that if anybody hasn't signed up for Alertable yet, that's another way we get our events and our stories and our updates out there as well. So.
Anybody else? Well, I want to personally thank you and your staff. I think they're doing a wonderful job. And when you were mentioning about Aaron, I remember back in 2020 when we had COVID, they were desperately looking for people to come in as lifeguard. Anyway, somebody said, well, maybe you're retired. You could be a lifeguard. Believe me, you wouldn't want me to. I don't swim that well, so anyway, no, and it's wonderful whenever we come here and I bring the children here, like they're well monitored. And like you said, though, there's been a lot of people in the Civic Center, like the last couple weekends. I've attended. I had family from St. John that came. They were part of the tournament, and they just loved the Civic Center, so, and it's well kept up. So we want to keep it there. Thank you. Councillor Cornish?
Kevin, I'd just like to say this about your swimming program. As you know, I was heavily involved in it by driving my grandson back and forth for a long time. My grandson worked for Kevin and the group, made it to the high level of instructing, worked with the handicapped, and I believe what I'm hearing from you is even growing better. And I think as far as Parker is concerned, it made him a lot better communicator, and we really appreciate it. So just don't let your head get too big going out the door.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Next, we have the Assistant Treasurer's report. Frank, that would be you.
Thank you. Reports in front of you. I'll just go through it briefly. Accounts receivable processing, we've already started entering meter readings for the next billing period, and those bills should be going out, I believe, before the end of April. So she's busy entering those as they come in. I've mentioned in here about posting of water, sewer, and general fund receipts, and I was just thinking as I was going through here that that number really doesn't even touch the surface of what we're actually collecting here in the run of a month. We have a number of deposits that come in as direct deposit, and I haven't reported it, but I will start doing that in the future. But the water and sewer receipts would reflect it, but on the general fund, there's a number of other direct deposit, especially from the province, that we get that it's not reported in this. Accounts payable has been a challenge over the last couple of months. We are down one staff, but we've picked up Patty Anderson from the events to assist us with that, and she's doing a great job, and Nikki's been working very diligently trying to keep on top of it as well. We've got to a point now where it's basically caught up, and we're going to try to ensure that we keep it that way. This past Monday, we had a request for people to submit an application for our finance clerk. That closed on Monday. Nikki and I and Jeff and Celeste will be looking at those. Nikki and I have already started that process and trying to narrow that down to see if there's any candidates in there that we're interested in moving further in terms of the interview process. But we're looking forward to completing that part of the that part of the process and have somebody come on board. Payroll processing, that's pretty much where it would be a month-to-month basis. I'm showing 192 payments. I think that's very similar to what it was the month before, totaling 192,000. It would be up a little bit for this month, but because we have some other payments. But and it'll start once we get into April. We start bringing the students on. April, May, we start bringing students on. We'll start to see that increase even more. And we've also picked up and started taking on some of the other roles, and Celeste has been working with us on this as well in terms of our compliance with regards to records of employment and workers' comp. Workers' comp has been quite busy the last little bit. We had a couple of people that are out on workers' comp. Okay, general ledger, compliance filing. So in February, and that's what this basically covering, T4s, T4As, which are basically for our scholarships, went out, and we had 170 T4s and 6 T4As. So that the printing of the T4s and the printing of the T4As is actually the easy part of this, is to gathering that information and getting the numbers down to actually put in is what takes the time. That's required to have been out by the end of February, and it was. And on top of that, we also have requirements that fall from that in terms of filing for workers' comp. So for workers' comp, we have to do an actual, and we also have to do an estimate. So we have to estimate. We have to do an actual because we estimated last year, and then we have to do an actual for next year. And that information went into them again before the end of February. And we also required for workers' comp because our contractors may or may not have workers' comp on their own. If they have 3 or more employees, they're required. But we have a number of contractors that would be less than that 3-employee cutoff, so they wouldn't have compensation, and we're required as a municipality or essentially any employer or any business would be required. If we have workers' comp coverage, that extends to them as well if they don't have their own coverage, and we have to pick up the cost of that. Various meetings, and we're still working on the Questica budget software. We're sort of on hold a little bit until the 1st of May so we can get past some other projects, but that is continuing. And we're still working on audit, and we hope to get that in fairly shortly to the auditors. The check register is there as well, and if there's any questions, I will entertain it.
Councillor Wright.
Thank you. That last line really made me so happy. The 2024 audit's ready to go to auditors so early this year compared to historical. So with all the other work that's happened, I think that's a major milestone, and that was a major goal of this council. So I was really happy to see that. Thank you.
Why it's a challenge?
I'm sure.
But we are working diligently at it. We're working with M&P, and I'm going to give them credit as well for the work that they are doing. I'm going to give credit to my staff for the work that they're doing. But we are working diligently to get that in as soon as we can, and to try to be able to bring this forward to council hopefully in May.
Yes, thank you, Frank. I didn't mean to say it was all councils. I wasn't trying to leave that. Council gave the direction, but it was staff who, I mean, was 0.5% council saying, let's do this, and it was staff who carried it out. So huge, huge kudos. It just makes me so happy to see that. Thanks.
Thank you. Staff would like to see it too, so.
Anybody else? No, we're good. Well, thank you very much for all the work that you do, and good luck on that 2024. Okay, next we'll move on to Future St. Stephen, and we have good news.
Our lights are working again. That's good news right there. Yeah, everybody stole my thunder already, guys, but I brought a friend. So we're happy to announce we have a president in place in Rivers Corbett. So he started on March 10th. The last few weeks has definitely mainly just been filling his brain with everything about the municipal district of St. Stephen. He's been meeting a lot of people. And main thing in the report for this month is, before I let Rivers introduce himself, and I run away forever, is if you have any economic development questions, concerns, or you'd just like to meet Rivers, is reach out, set up a time for coffee, have a chat. We all know it can be a bit daunting. I'll look at Jeff and Kev on this one, when you come into a new community. And the hardest part is getting to know who everyone is. So maybe make that a little bit easier if you can, if you have time. Have a chat, have a coffee, introduce yourself. His last name is Corbett. He's not related to the Corbetts who lived here before, just so we're all clear on that. But get to know who his family was. Yeah, I'll give Rivers a chance to introduce himself.
Thanks, Genevieve. Yeah, so one question I get asked the most is, where are you from? With everybody here, so it's all good. Well, I'm just really pleased and honored to be part of this team. And I think that's one of the things that I can honestly say that I've experienced since I've been here, is the willingness to be invited into the infrastructure that's happening. It's a very willing group, very energetic group, and it's the type of people that I want to work with, that's for sure. Whereas we've got some big things we want to do, and we're going to go ahead and do that. I am from St. John, by the way. That's the furthest place I'm from, and my background is I've been an entrepreneur all my life, but I've done economic development along the way for the province. And so I think that's about it. I'm just really, I want to echo, if you have a question, right? You had that question today about the carry, and that's part of my job, is to make sure that you're all informed with the way you need to be informed. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have questions?
I know Mark's going to ask the one about the hotels.
I already warned him.
Marg, you're on.
Oh, thank you. Yes, what did you say this chap's name was?
Rivers.
Pardon?
Rivers.
Okay, well, hi.
Hi.
I just want to know, the only thing that you'll hear me ask in the next year and a half is, how are we doing on the hotel?
Yeah, you're in a big room with that question. That's the consistent one that I've run across. So I appreciate the gravity of making it happen.
Well, good luck with your new job, and hopefully next month I'll be able to sit down with y'all. So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else? Well, welcome to the group. Yes, and we'll be in touch.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we did have a person that motion and a seconder to accept and acknowledge the report. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Report acknowledged and received. Now we're going to move on to new business, and the first one is.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question that I forgot to ask before. And it's of Sean.
Okay.
Sean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there any way that we can start charging these nonprofits for the calls from the RCMP? I understand there's at least 3 to 5 a day at the new shelter. Is there any way we can start charging them for the services that we provide, or the RCMP provides, and we're paying for? Do you think there's any way we can do that?
Not right off the top of my head. It's something we could look into, but I'm not familiar. I have no experience with doing that, I guess would be my comment. But we can certainly look into that.
I did not mean to put you on the spot now, but you're my go-to person. So anyway, I just think that we're paying a lot of money for the RCMP, and for them to be sitting at the end of Main Street 24/7, I don't think it's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. I guess we'll move back on to the new business. And the first request for decision, we have 2 letters from the library, and they want to extend the appointment to library board. So there's 2 different ones. I guess, Council, we can do them together or we can do them separately. And one is for Yvette Sawyer and the other one's Francis McGilly. So are you good with doing that together? So I would ask for a mover.
So moved.
Councillor Heislip, and seconder, I'll put you marked for seconder. That Yvette Sawyer and Francis McGilly both be reappointed to the St. Croix Library Board for a 3-year term ending in March 2028. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? And when you read the letter, both of them have been on the library board for like 20 years, so they do excellent work, so it's great that they want to be back. So motion carry. The next one is the rebranding project proposal. And Jeff, would you like, I need a mover and seconder first. Mover?
Second.
Councillor Cornish. Councillor Harding, seconder. Jeff, would you like to speak on that, please?
Sure. So as I said during my CA report, this is a project that we talked about some time ago during our strategic planning session. We looked into a few different service providers. This was the preferred one based on our evaluations. We had budgeted for it in 2025 to conduct this work. And then, as I mentioned earlier, through the good graces of Minister Kennedy and his team, just in the last couple of days, they confirmed the commitment of $15,000 to this project. That was after they got the proposal that we were recommending. The Deputy Minister reviewed that, was impressed by it, and was more than happy to support it. So basically, we'll be picking up $750 plus the taxes and disbursements, which is significantly less than we budgeted for the project. So we'll probably be, when you get my report next meeting about some budget amendments, a reallocation or a new project for the budgeted funds will probably be in that report. But we're happy to recommend that we proceed with this project as proposed.
Anybody have any questions for Jeff? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. C, we have the medical professional recruitment policy, and I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Eastman. Councillor Cornish. Jeff, would you like to speak on that one as well?
Sure. One of the topics I took the opportunity to mention to Minister Kennedy was this game that municipalities get caught up in and competing for physicians when it's not our mandate, which, as the citizen indicated, I tried to make very clear throughout my covering report. But while the provincial government figures out how they're going to fix their crisis in healthcare, much of the burden is being dropped onto local communities to address the local concerns. So when I went about drafting this policy, one of the approaches was, if we were going to be in this game, I thought we were going to have to be aggressive. I think you've heard from some people in the industry that this is a fairly healthy package and approach. But if you're going to be in the game, you might as well play to win, is kind of my approach to this. And it's such a critical need for our community. The other key principle that I articulated at the committee as a whole, I'd like to articulate again, was this policy was drafted around that we were not intending to steal doctors from elsewhere in New Brunswick and move our problem to another community. This is completely designed to bring either new grads in or physicians from outside New Brunswick to bolster the entire system here. I thought that was a very important principle to build in. And the committee, when you reviewed it a few weeks ago, seemed to concur with that approach. As far as some of the administrative details on how grants get paid, when we do these, what this would actually entail, once the policy is adopted, legal counsel would be retained to draft those contribution agreements and talk about what if they left in year 3, what if, and make sure that we are completely covered in all circumstances that we can foresee. There will always be things we can't foresee. And this is a policy. Policies are easy to amend for council. It's a single resolution, unlike a bylaw that you have to go months and many readings. Policies can change pretty much on the fly as we learn and as we talk to either healthcare recruiters or doctors themselves. If council's hearing here that something else would be better or that we need to tweak the program, you can do that quite quickly, which is a nice thing about it being policy-driven as opposed to bylaw-driven. So with that, I know it was a very quick priority set for my office to get something before you. And is it flawless? It's probably not flawless. That's the truth of it. There will be learnings that come, and but if the committee was convinced that this should come to council for debate and consideration as it was written, and so that's why we put it on as it was written. With that, I'll leave it to you to debate and discuss.
Comments? Okay, Councillor Eastman.
Yeah, I'd almost swear that Chandra was in my house looking at my notes, feeding my dog, because everything she brought up I've got written down here. And the thing, I guess the overall concept, I'm not against any of this, other than the fact of what your background says. It's not our problem. However, taxpayers got to understand that basically if this becomes a money tag, then taxpayers are going to understand that their taxes are going to go up to fund this at the end of the day. That's not to put anybody on the spot, but that's just the reality of this situation.
Okay. Councillor Heislip.
I think, Jeff, that this policy probably needs to be out there as soon as possible, because we're going to have new graduates that are coming out fairly shortly. This is getting into April now. And to target them, we need this incentive policy out. I mean, and like you said, policies are policies, and they can be changed quite quickly. I mean, we have a lot of policies on the book that, if you look at it, we haven't followed them for a while, and they're being updated because they're so antiquated there too. So I mean, we can, as it goes, I think we're going to find a lot of things we might have to change, right? So, no, overall, I like the policy.
Yeah. I like the fact, where it was mentioned in the policy that it is not our mandate to do that. But the reality is that most of the communities in New Brunswick have the very same issue. And right now, when we look at our community, I mean, it's been in crisis for well over a year, plus now we just lost a doctor in January. And then we have another doctor that's not practicing, but he's still in the books. But there are numbers and numbers of people in our community that are without a doctor. And I think we need to act on this now. And I mean, different communities have taken different kind of incentive, but I think we need to do what we can to draw physician to our community. And we all need it, like everybody in the community. We don't know what's going to happen. So I would be in favor. Is there anybody else? No? Okay, we have a mover. Oh, Marg?
I would be in favor too, just like, I think that's a wonderful idea. I still have my doctor and I thank God for her, but there's a lot of people that don't. I go right along with people now.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a mover and a seconder. So all those in favor that council approves the medical professional recruitment policy as presented? Aye. Aye. Contrary minded? So I guess it is approved. The next one was the non-union full-time employee vacation policy. We are missing some counselors here, and I have been approached to move that to the committee of the whole meeting next month. So are we good with that? Do we need to vote on that? Okay. I need a mover and seconder, Councillor Wright and Councillor Eastman. All those in favor that we move that to committee of the whole next month?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not with it.
So what's the purpose of us moving it? Just for more discussion, or is it, okay? Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carry. The next one, I need a mover and a seconder that council change the date of the next regular council meeting from April 23rd, 2025 to April 30th.
So moved.
Okay, Councillor Harding and Councillor Wright. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carry. Looks like I have something missing here. Okay, the next one is on the 11 Milltown Boulevard. I need a mover and a seconder. This is the council order the mitigation, remove, secure, or protect of the structural collapse hazard as cited in engineering report, resulting in the reopening of the sidewalk and parking spots in front of the 11 Milltown Boulevard no later than June 1st, 2025, and that all work to complete the required repair to the structure be completed by the end of 2025 construction season and no later than October 31st. So I just need a mover and the seconder, and then we'll have the discussion. Councillor Eastman and Councillor Cornish. Okay, Sean, do you want to?
Yes, you'll see in my my document some of the items related to the timeline. This has been going on, well, in excess of a year now. There were a couple different engineers' reports related to this. One was ours that led to the that reinforced the placement of the barricades on the sidewalk to protect pedestrians and vehicles. And then the second one was brought forward by the owner of the property, and it basically validated the first report. But the property owner's report from their engineer did indicate that there was some instability, and that repairs should be done within 1 year. Thus, the October 31st timeline that is recommended. Apart from that, the June 1st deadline for getting the parking spaces and the sidewalk back, that seems to be the as far as the impact on the public, the biggest issue, and that's why that was recommended to try and have that done in time for tourist season, so to speak. More people will be out around with better weather, so that is where that recommendation comes from. I guess that's what I have to say about that. Anybody had any questions on it?
Are there any questions? Okay, Councillor Ray.
I'm just a little confused by the last sentence. It says it confirmed validity of the barricades and stated that repairs to stabilize the facade should be completed. Does that mean we are completing them under the dangerous and unsightly, or does that mean we're just ensuring that the work that was agreed needs to be done is being done?
No, at this time, the recommendation is that we order that the owner carry these things out.
I was there the other day, right outside, sitting in the Royal Banks parking lot, and a great big tractor trailer come down and parked right in front of those barriers on a blind corner, and decided to deliver goods to the pub in the corner. And I thought to myself at the time, watching that 2 or 3 times people come out and swing out, damn near clip the next guy coming towards them. So this has got to be solved. I mean, this is crazy over a year.
That tractor trailer tends to do that regardless of the barricades, for the record. but point taken, yes.
Okay, Councillor Cornish.
Sean, just a question. In addition to the barricades and blocks, is there anything physically going to be done to the actual facade of that building to make it look better? Because it looks pretty crappy.
I would, well, I guess Alex is gone, but all repairs would have to comply with the zoning for that area, and there are sections within the zoning bylaw that would state what that would have to be restored to. Typically, in that zone, it's traditional materials, brick, those type of things.
Which is the dilapidated condition of the building, broken glass, et cetera, no curtains in the window. It's not very pretty.
No, this would not cover that. It would have to meet the building code, but what you're referring to would be minimum property standards, and there is nothing on the books that would. The broken glass, it's an interior pane, so that doesn't in itself fall under dangerous and unsightly, but I believe what you're referring to is curtains and things like that. That is minimum property standards.
Actually cleaning it up a little bit?
I can't speak for the owner.
The owner?
I cannot direct them to put up curtains or those type of things.
Basically, he said, can you speak to the owner to see if he would do that for us? Because he's
Madam Chair, I will advise that you're getting a long way off your topic on your agenda. That there are conversations that can be had in a different forum, but I would recommend that you stay on your agenda.
Any more questions? Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the resolution? Aye. Contrary minded? Resolution pass. Okay, the next one is naming of a private drive, And I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Heislip and Councillor Eastman, that council approves the naming of a private drive located in Hills Point as Seaview Lane, subject to NB 911 approval. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carry. The next one refers to 18 Mark Street, and I need a mover and a seconder.
So moved.
Councillor Eastman, Councillor Harding, that council authorizes the expenditure of $7,497 plus HST to McGregor Construction Limited to undertake the demolition and cleanup of the property located at 18 Mark Street, to bring the property into bylaw compliance upon completion of the provincial registration of the notice to comply with the province. Any questions or discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Sean?
Or me. That's all good. Just for full disclosure, for both the public's knowledge and your knowledge, while we would graciously request that this resolution be passed, as of this afternoon, our colleagues at GNB had reached out to us, and they want to have a further conversation regarding how this property is dealt with. In the interest of our ongoing relationship with our friends at GNB and their funding of our dangerous and sightly, what we would like to do is be able to have this resolution in our pocket if we need to do that, but also there might be a bit of a time lag between carrying out this immediately while we discuss with our colleagues at GNB about what they're proposing. So we would like to have this as a motion for a quick response if we have to get there. But given the correspondence we got this afternoon, we just want to let you know that don't expect us to be on site immediately on this particular one. So just for full disclosure and be very open about it. Thank you.
What, I don't know if you could say this, but what could they request, like other than this, or do you know?
I'm not in full knowledge of the situation at this point. We just had a note from our colleague that amongst other things, the minister wanted to have a discussion with the mayor. I don't think it was necessarily only about this particular property, but properties in general. But I don't have the full details of what the nature of that conversation is, which is why I'd like a little bit of time to have that conversation happen so that we know exactly what the situation is.
So we could pass this resolution in case it comes to that, right?
Correct.
So, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion moved. Next, we go on to correspondence, and
Did we miss one? The non-union full-time vacation policy?
That was referred back to committee.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, correspondence. I need a mover and seconder that the correspondence be acknowledged and received by council. Councillor Heislip, Councillor Eastman. So we have one, it's the Purple Day Proclamation 2025 promoting epilepsy awareness. And I think people have the letter, and that's why we're wearing the purple ribbons today. The second one is the Royal Canadian Air Force May Day event, and which is scheduled on May 10th. And wondering if we have any issues with the flyover. Is there any questions or comments on that?
Other than the fact that it should be published to the public somehow. Get the word out to the public, because when that hurt comes over here, they're gonna think this America's attacking us.
Yeah. would that be something that we could do?
100%. We just wanted to make sure that administratively we have no problem with the flyover. We'll work with the event organizers about promotional stuff, promotional items, and getting word out. So that's not a problem as long as you folks are okay with it.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Resolution passed. Next, we have the council report, and I need a mover and seconder that the council reports be acknowledged and received. Councillor Heislip, Councillor Cornish. Are there any questions? Okay, Marg, sorry, Marg.
Gotta get a bigger hand, I guess. Anyway, I just want to make a comment and I want to respond to Chandra's ideal of having these reports, and I think they are fantastic, but sometimes I haven't been out of the house since January 31st. So therefore, anything that I would write would be very mundane, except, I looked out the window, I did my exercise, but that. So people go away, people go on vacation. So maybe sometime, if you want to know what's going on, call over. Say, I want to know what you did this month. Anyway, I think that and I also think that we should be able to answer the questions when people ask them. So that's something that could be talked over at a different point. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay. Did I forget anything? Okay, and since we're not going to have the closed meeting, I'd like to have a motion that we close the meeting. Period. Adjourn the meeting? Okay.
I move.
Councillor Wright and Councillor Cornish. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? So the meeting is adjourned at 7:58.